a few years back. I think it happened in 2020 somewhere in Kansas, and they took 130 student athletes at a university from a bunch of different sports like baseball, basketball, tennis, swimming, etc. And they divided them up into two groups. So one group was the control group, and they just did a typical performance and weight training course. And then they took the other group and they did not do the course. They were just assigned to do at least 5 minutes a day of visualizing themselves lifting heavy weights. And at the end of 3 weeks, Dr. Z, guess which group was actually able to lift heavier weights?
The ones with the nice mental energy.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Yeah, so it's kind of surprising because one group was actually taking this class that was helping them learn how to condition and was actually, requiring them to do some weightlifting. The other group just did their normal workout and activities, but just added 5 minutes or more a day of these visualizations of them lifting heavy weights. And they could do it at any time. They could do it in whatever way they wanted, but they were just told to close their eyes and picture themselves lifting these heavy weights. And at the end of it, the control group was able to lift 5 more pounds compared to their baseline at the beginning of the study. And the visualization group was able to lift 10 to 15 pounds more on average compared to their baseline measurement. So isn't that pretty cool that just by using the power of your mind, you can actually enhance your ability to achieve your goals? I love using visualizations with my pediatric patients. This is something that I started incorporating a couple of years ago when I started taking courses in pediatric clinical hypnosis. A lot of it is just guided imagery, meditation, mindfulness. There's a lot of overlap. But essentially what I do with kids sometimes, actually often, is teaching them how to use these, I call them imagination exercises for the young kids, because that's really what it is. It's just helping them to learn how to use their imagination in positive ways. Because a lot of kids, especially kids suffering from anxiety, and not just kids, but if you never learn how to deal with it when you're an adult, this also happens, is our imaginations start to go wild, imagining all of the bad things that could happen, right? But how many times do we use our imagination to picture all of the wonderful and positive things that could happen, right? And part of that is just how our mind works. Our mind naturally has something called a negativity bias, which causes us to worry more about the possible that bad things that can happen versus think about the positive things that could happen. And from an evolutionary perspective, it's probably because if we were not worried about the tiger that might be hiding behind the bush, we would die, right? And so our brain developed this tendency to think more of the negative compared to the positive. But unfortunately, if we don't learn how to control that or how to harness that in better ways, then it can get out of control and it can contribute to anxiety and depression in both children and adolescents and adults like us. So I love using visualizations to help these kids to learn how to harness that imagination for good, right? Instead of just constantly worrying. And I get kids referred to me who have been in car accidents. And so usually they come in complaining of neck pain or back pain. Usually there's nothing terrible, or they've had x-rays that were normal, but they're still in pain. And what that tells me is that certain parts of their body have tightened up in reaction to the car accident. And also there's an element of post-traumatic stress from the accident as well, because it was a fearful incident, right? Like their body experienced the adrenaline rush from that, and that caused, both the physical nature of it and the emotional nature of it caused certain restrictions in their muscles and their tendons and their tissues to develop. And so I do a type of massage with them. But while I'm doing the massage to help with that, I teach them these visualizations. If you learn more about the topic of pain, it's said that something like 90% of pain originates in our brain, right? Like, so some pain, of course, like if you burn your hand, right? There's tissue injury from that area that then leads, your pain receptors to your brain. But really, a lot of pain is in our mind. And so because we have the power to learn how to control our mind. The more we learn how to do that, the more we can modulate our own pain, our own emotions, our own
Mm-hmm.
physical sensations. And in the world of pediatric hypnosis, these visualizations, these types of visualizations, have actually been shown to help children to manage their own pain, whether it's from migraines, whether it's functional abdominal pain. They've even been shown to help with things like inflammatory bowel disease,
Mm-hmm.
decrease the severity, and all sorts of other conditions. So it's really cool how powerful your mind is if you train it and you learn how to harness the power of your mind.